Udvahatam Adyam Gangavogyam Udanvati. O Lord of Madhu, as the Ganga forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. Can you hear me?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, I'm also having a little unstable internet here, so it might just drop off at one point. Okay, purport. Perfection of pure devotional service is attained when all attention is diverted towards the transcendental loving service of the Lord. To cut off the tie of all other affections doesn't mean complete negation of the finer elements like affection for someone else. This is not possible. A living being, whoever he may be, must have these feelings of affection for others because this is a symptom of life. Symptoms of life, such as desire, anger, hankering, feelings of attraction, etc., cannot be annihilated. Only the objective has to be changed. Desire cannot be negated, but in devotional service, the desire is changed only for the service of the Lord in place of desire for sense gratification. The so-called affection for family, society, country, etc., consists of different phases of sense gratification. When the desire is changed for the satisfaction of the Lord, it is called devotional service here. So here, don't do that. Go back. Here we see mentions that perfection is of pure devotion is attained when all attentions is diverted towards the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So in the Bhagavatam it says, Savaitum Samparo Dharmo Yato Bhaktiya Huksaje, Uhoituki Priyata Yayatma Suprasidati. That devotional service has to have two qualities in order to be pure devotional service. Uhoituki and Apriyata. Uhoituki means without interruption. Apriyata means without interruption and without cessation, or without cessation and without any other desire. So that is pure devotional service. So Prabhupada, right in the beginning, just gives us a little understanding of what is pure devotional service. And so then he qualifies. It doesn't mean we don't have affection or relationships with others. He said this is life symptoms, and we also see that. And no one can be just free from attraction or affection for others. It happens because it is normal. Just like we have attraction and affection for certain people in this world, but that is a small indication of our attraction and desire to be with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. So when attraction is Prabhupada cannot be annihilated, it has to be redirected. And so when we redirect that attraction for things in this world towards Krishna, then that is pure devotional service. And that satisfies the Lord. We still may have some affection for others, but it becomes subordinate to the real attraction for Krishna, because only Krishna can fulfill all our desires perfectly and completely. So Prabhupada says the affection in the material world for family, society, country, and various elements of society and relationships are different phases of sense gratification. When the motivation is to satisfy one's senses. So we go on here. In the Bhagavad Gita, we can see that Arjuna desired not to fight with his brothers and to satisfy, just to satisfy his own personal desires. But when he heard the message of Lord Krishna, he changed his decision and served the Lord. And by doing so, he became famous as a devotee of the Lord. It was declared in all scriptures that Arjuna attained perfection, spiritual perfection, by devotional service to the Lord and friendship. The fighting was there, the friendship was there, Arjuna was there, and Krishna was there. Arjuna became a different person by devotional service. So here's the example. When he had refused to fight because on the other side were his friends, relatives, family members, martial guru, everyone that he grew up with, many he grew up with and many that he learned from. And he had some bodily affection for them, therefore he had given reasons why he shouldn't fight. And Krishna says, Asocham anvasocham sva pratyavadi devasase katusams akutatsums cham nanusho panditaha. Arjuna was giving his feelings towards family members and others, and Krishna told him, you're a pundit, you're not a pundit, you're actually a fool, because you don't understand that a person who is actually intelligent doesn't lament for the living nor the dead, because he knows that the soul never dies. But therefore, of course, he follows the principles of proper etiquette and behavior, and of course, based on religious principles. Therefore, he was asked to fight, and he had to fight against people who he knew and loved. But this was Krishna's desire. And so in order to satisfy Krishna, he eventually accepted Krishna's will. It says here, because he did so, he became famous. It was declared in all scriptures that Arjuna attained spiritual perfection by devotional service to the Lord in a friendly relationship. Fighting was there, friendship was there, Krishna was there. But Arjuna became different by devotional service. In other words, he attained to the spiritual platform. The prayers of Kunti also indicate the same categorical changes in activity. Srimati Kunti wanted to serve the Lord without diversion, and that was her prayer. She also had many, surrounded by many family members, friends, and relatives, whom she all had regard for, and they also regarded her in a very loving and in a very exalted way. But still, she understood that these things are all ephemeral and really our happiness, our success in life, our fulfillment of all of our desires is with Krishna. And then Prabhupada says, because of that prayer that she made, which was an ultimate prayer, she says, take away, just like, the Ganges is never hindrance by its flow to the sea. Similarly, let my attention simply be drawn unto you only. This unalloyed devotion is the ultimate goal of life. Our attention is usually diverted to the service of something which is non-godly or not in the program of the Lord. When the program is changed into the service of the Lord, that is to say, when the senses are purified in relationship with the service of the Lord, it is called pure unalloyed devotional service. Srimati Kunti wanted that perfection and prayed for it from the Lord. You can see how exalted we. When you have nothing to give up and you say, I will renounce, there isn't much to that. And it's not very glorious. But when you are such as a person like sweet Queen Kunti, she is honored by all, and she is a very respectable lady. She is the auntie of Krishna. She has many family members and friends. She has the 5 sons of her, the Pandavas are her 5 sons. Still, she wants her attention only on Krishna. This is pure devotional service. This is pure love. We can't do that unless we actually develop genuine attraction for Krishna. We may try to artificially develop that state that Queen Kunti is actually praying for. But it won't happen unless we actually develop attraction for Krishna in a very continuous way. And that can only be done through the process of pure devotional service. Okay, next paragraph. Her affection for the Pandavas and the Vrishnis is not out of the range of devotional service, because the service of the Lord and the service of the devotees are identical. Sometimes service to devotees is more valuable than service to the Lord. But here, the affection for Kunti Devi, for the Pandavas and the Vrishnis was due to family relations. So here's the key. This tie of affection in terms of material relationship is the relationship of Maya, because the relationships of the body or the mind are due to the influence of the external energy. We have to understand this point, that the relationships that we develop in the material way in this world are influenced by the external energy of the Lord. What does that mean? It means that because of some material desire, we develop relationships. If there's no personal interest in it, then there's no development of relationships. What the ultimate relationship is with Krishna. Relationships of the soul established in relationship with the Supreme Soul are factual relationships. When Kunti Devi wanted to cut off the family relations, she meant to cut off the relationships of the skin. In other words, she wasn't going to give up her relationship with the Pandavas and the Vrishnis, but she wanted to cut off the familial connection, and that she wanted to establish that connection on the spiritual level. So this is also important, that in our relationships with friends and family members, it must be on the basis of spiritual. In other words, every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna. Every living entity belongs to Krishna. And so when we see and relate in keeping Krishna as freedom, the soul is not bound by material bondage. And the material bondage gives us requirements in relationship to those relationships we have in this material world. We have duties to perform based on family relationships. But she wants to cut off all that. She doesn't want to get rid of the personalities that have the relation. She wants to get rid of the family connection that keeps one bound into this material consciousness. And then here, Prabhupada said, this relationship of the soul to the soul can be established by the medium of the relationship with the super soul. Seeing in the darkness is not seeing, but seeing by the light of the sun means to see the sun and everything else which is unseen in the darkness. That is the way of devotional service. Now this last line is a little mysterious. What does it mean? And when you become Krishna consciousness, everything becomes clear. And when you are not Krishna conscious, you're seeing things like seeing with impaired vision, which means seeing in the darkness. Can't see things correctly from a material point of view, because a material point of view is limited, temporary, and constantly creating situations which are simply based on the reflections of our own material desires. In other words, something in this material world looks desirable or undesirable based on our material desire. And we also live life that way. We establish relationships based on the fulfillment of material desires. We avoid those relationships or persons that cannot fulfill our material desires. Or maybe sometimes because of necessity, we develop a relationship, but it's not really a relationship, because the necessity that is trying to be carried out becomes the medium by which the relationship develops, and it's not so much the relationship. In other words, if I can get something from the relationship, that is the basis of the relationship. It's not about the relationship. It's about getting something from the relationship. Okay, so here, these are some points we can think about. We can see Queen Kunti's prayer. It's quite powerful, it's almost like a beautiful poetic expression. O Lord of Madhu. Go back to the translation. O Lord of Madhu. Madhu means sweetness, or something that is, Krishna is called Madhusudan or Madhava. Means something that is very sweet, something that is very desirable, something that is very spiritually fragrant. O Lord of Madhu, as the Ganga forever flows to the sea without hindrance. Nice example. The Ganges is a very powerful river. And although there may be blocks that apparently come in the relationship, in the way of the flow of the Ganges simply flows past these obstacles. We've seen that even in Mayapur, they actually tried to build dams for the Ganga to regulate her water flow, but it didn't work. The Ganga is so powerful that it cannot be stopped. Then she says, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. This is pure love for Krishna. And still, just to illustrate this point in a very clear way, Prabhupada said it's not possible to give up affection for others, but simply the object has to be changed towards Krishna, that's all. Okay, we can stop there. Does that mean you can't love your wife or your husband or your children or your friends? No. It means that these relationships have to be Krishnized. There has to be a relationship of Krishna consciousness in there. And that relationship of Krishna consciousness creates a type of affection with those in that relationship. And that affection is really based on their mutual connection with Krishna. Otherwise, if there is some affection, it's simply Maya and not based on anything tangible, simply selfish or illusory, either one. That's why we say establish, if you have relationships, establish them based on principles of Krishna. Keep Krishna conscious in the center. It's like sometimes we hear people are going to get married, so we give some lecture speaking about the bride and groom moving into that relationship. But we say there is three in that relationship. The third partner is Krishna. Everything centers around Krishna in the sense that we serve Krishna together, we assist each other in serving Krishna, we remind each other of our relationship with Krishna. Krishna becomes the basis of that relationship. And then affection amongst the parties in that relationship actually grows because it's based on something genuine, based on Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj, for explaining about this verse. Thank you so much. So devotees, if there are any questions, reflections, please go ahead. Also, please turn on your video. It would be nice to see you all. Thank you, Mataji. Are there any questions, reflections on this verse? Please go ahead. You can also write your question in the chat. Shri Devi Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Vrinda Kumari. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to Kunti Maharani. My question is this: can we then conclude that a genuine relationship has to be based on the understanding that the persons in the relationship are part and parcel of Krishna, and therefore my duty is to serve them and be of benefit to them in remembering Krishna and worshiping Krishna and serving Krishna? That means my job is to help the other person become more Krishna conscious, and that's the only way the relationship can proceed.
Something.
Can you hear? I cannot hear anything.
No, I think there are some internet issues.
Oh. Did my question come through clearly, Vrinda Kumari?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Yes, Mataji. I think Maharaj will log in again.
Guru Maharaj's internet is not stable.
Maharaj has joined.
I have a very unstable internet here. I just came to a new place today or yesterday, and the internet is not good here. So it works, but it has a tendency to. Haribol, can anybody hear me?
Yes, Maharaj, now we can hear you.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram.
Oh,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
we can hear you now, Maharaj. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Sri Devi, go ahead and ask your question again.
Guru Maharaj, my question is this: can we then conclude that a genuine relationship can only be based on this understanding that everyone in that relationship is part and parcel of Krishna, and therefore each member sees how can I serve the other to help them become more Krishna conscious? How can I help this person do duties better?
Well, you understand material relationships are based on personal interests, where devotional service is based on the interest of Krishna. When we bring people into a relationship based on devotional service, then Krishna becomes the focus, and the persons who are involved in that relationship benefit from that relationship. They develop a relationship with Krishna, and they develop a real relationship with each other, not based on mutual exploitation, but based on loving service to Krishna. So yeah, otherwise, any material relationship is tinged with personal interest. And therefore, it is not really satisfying. It can never be fully satisfying. Prabhupada does say that the most purest relationship in this world is a mother's love for her little child, where she's simply giving, giving, giving. Well, when we talk about devotional service, we talk about everyone is in the mood to serve each other everyone is in the mood to serve Krishna by serving each other. So when we serve each other, we are actually serving Krishna, but not on a material level, when it's done in devotional, according to devotional or religious principles. So, if I want to do something good for you, I could give you something material. And if it helps you in your devotional service, then it's not material, it's spiritual. So everything centers around Krishna and Krishna consciousness. In the material world, people are trying to get something from that relationship. But in spiritual life, we get whatever we need and more when Krishna is the center, because Krishna is the source of everything. Nothing is outside of Krishna. But we cut off Krishna when we act against religious principles, because there is a way to connect with Krishna that is recommended, and that is by religious principles. Still, we may carry out our material responsibilities, but the point is that, and a relationship will grow from that if Krishna is the center. In other words, the goal of everyone involved is to become Krishna conscious, not to gain something material. So we can have many relationships in this world if the principle is based on something spiritual, because material is temporary, material is exploitative, material is selfish.
So what if one in that relationship is not so committed to the process of Krishna consciousness, or is not growing as much as the other person, and is making material demands on the other person, which the other person is not able to fulfill, and that becomes a cause of great unhappiness?
Well, the material demands are, in other words, when a relationship begins, one should understand what is the characteristics that make the relationship satisfying, the progressive, successful. If one person is giving and one person is not giving, after some time the relationship will grow weak and then eventually fall apart. So sometimes a person is demanding because the other person is not playing their part in the relationship. That happens even on the material level. So there is characteristics that make up every type of relationship. But when Krishna is in the center, then it is satisfying and beneficial for everyone. When moral principles are in the center without Krishna consciousness, it may have some benefit in the short term, because material is always changing. As that verse, Yasyasti Bhakti Bhagavati Akinchana Guna Vanasarai Suyat Satam Sarat. What is it? Yasyasti Bhakti Bhagavati Akinchana Gunar Samastate Sura. Ahava Bhakta Mahgato Guna Patam Manoratena Sati Dayatar Bahi. And that the material energy, anyone who is under influenced in material energy, it says, is missing the essential qualities to make up a relationship, because the material energy is always changing. Material energy is never stable. Sometimes the mode of goodness is prominent. Sometimes the mode of passion is prominent. Most
I think there are still some issues going on there.
Okay?
Guru Maharaj, we couldn't hear you for a good bit, unfortunately.
Yeah, I didn't say anything because the thing dropped off as soon as I stopped talking. So I didn't say anything new. Please don't delay. If you have questions, hurry up because my internet is going to drop off any moment. So keep the questions moving so the internet will.
Okay, Maharaj, I will move to the next question, which is by Prema Kishori Mataji. She is asking, sometimes even within the devotees, there are conflicts, and if the relationship survives the conflict, then it becomes stronger. But what if it doesn't become stronger? Like,
Well, that's the possibility. That's a general principle. That two people who stick together despite the difficulties in that relationship and build on that relationship and try to work through the difficulties, the relationship will become stronger. That's a general principle. But the point is they're sticking together. That's the point. They're not breaking up because of the situation. They're working through the problems. They both are trying their best to somehow or other overcome the problems and not giving up the relationships because of the problems. So that's a general principle that usually works. The fact that they're staying together means that the relationship has to get better.
thank you, Maharaj. There is one
But
question.
if somehow or other they don't solve the problem, then the relationship may also, take another turn. In other words, each person is not blaming the other one for the problem. They understand it's something that just came up and they have to somehow work together to solve it. If it doesn't get better, it means they haven't solved the problem.
Thank you, Maharaj. There is one question by Renuka Mataji. Mataji, do you want to ask?
David, keep moving this thing along. You're too slow. Come on.
So she's asking how to build and continue relationships where we are dealing with materially oriented people. Many times serving them as Krishna's children becomes little challenging.
Any relationship that's based on something material, you always have differences of opinion and different goals. So you can't try to you can't equalize things in the material world because they cannot be equalized. They can never be harmonized. You can't have harmony in a place where everything is chaotic. It's not possible. The material world means chaos. Everyone has their own ideas on how to become happy. That's the material world. The man says, well, tells the wife, well, here's how I will become happy and you will become happy, and this is the way. And she thinks, no, he's wrong. If he listens to me, then he'll get it right. And he thinks, no, he listens to him, he'll get it right. So, and sometimes they try, they make some compromise and they work together, but still they keep the same idea in mind and the thing falls apart anyway. Keep Krishna in the center. When you keep Krishna in the center, you're keeping good qualities in the center. There's a nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 11th chapter, verses 29 through 32. It's 4 verses in one. And Krishna explains how the qualities that come by way of devotional service are all important, but without devotional service, none of these qualities have meaning. All good qualities are good qualities when Krishna is in the center. Otherwise, they're exploitative or selfish. Read that. It's 4 verses in one. It's an interesting. It develops 28 qualities. 11. Yeah. Yeah. Somebody want to read it? We're nice and fast. We need some fast reader who can read clearly.
I
Sukava,
want
you can
Guru Maharaj.
Somebody.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "O Uddhav, a saintly person is merciful and never injures others. Even if others are aggressive, he is tolerant and forgiving toward all living entities. His strength and meaning in life come from the truth itself. He is free from all envy and jealousy, and his mind is equal in material happiness and distress. Thus, he dedicates his time to work for the welfare of all others. His intelligence is never bewildered by material desires, and he has controlled his senses. His behavior is always pleasing, never harsh, and always exemplary, and he is free from possessiveness. He never endeavors in ordinary worldly activities, and he strictly controls his eating. He therefore always remains peaceful and steady. A saintly person is thoughtful and accepts me as his only shelter. Such a person is very cautious in the execution of his duties and is never subject to superficial transformations because he is steady and noble, even in a distressing situation. He has conquered over the 6 material qualities, namely hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age, and death. He is free from all desire for prestige and offers honor to others. He is expert in reviving the Krishna consciousness of others and therefore never cheats anyone. Rather, he is a well-wishing friend to all, being most merciful. Such a saintly person must be considered the most learned of men. He perfectly understands that the ordinary religious duties prescribed by me in various Vedic scriptures possess favorable qualities that purify the performer, and he knows that neglect of such duties constitutes a discrepancy in one's life. Having taken complete shelter at my lotus feet, however, a saintly person ultimately renounces such ordinary religious duties and worships me alone. He is thus considered to be the best among all living entities.
Read the beginning of the purport.
Verses 29 to 31 describe 28 qualities of a saintly person, and verse 32 explains the highest perfection of life. According to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the 17th quality, Mat Sharana, or taking complete shelter of Lord Krishna, is the most important, and the other 27 qualities automatically appear in one who has become a pure devotee of the Lord. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 5:18-12, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvair gunes tatra samasate suraha. The 28 saintly qualities may be described as follows.
Okay. So you see all the other ones automatically manifest in the body of one who is in pure devotional service, because the most important quality is taking complete shelter of Krishna. That is, we're talking about Krishna consciousness. We're not trying to adjust material things to make them work. You can adjust some material things and they'll work for in a little while, but because they're material, they have a tendency to separate after some time. And that's what this verse 18:12, 5:18:12, yes, that devotees have all good qualities and materialists do not, because they're not connected to Krishna. The point is that everything in the material world is subject to inebrities constantly. Even if you try to do good in the material world, there will be people who will find fault with you doing good. They will criticize. And sometimes they will even try to stop you. So you can read, it's a very long purport, but you can read the 26 qualities that are mentioned there. Not now. I mean, this is a whole class in itself. I'm saying just individually take time and read these qualities. Sukavaha.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you for the lovely class. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to your lotus feet. In this verse, Guru Maharaj, it says that the person who is highly knowledgeable does not get involved in the materialistic activities. What does that mean, Guru Maharaj?
What does it say?
It says that the person who is highly knowledgeable and fixed into Krishna does not get involved in the materialistic activities. What does that mean?
Some of the words I missed. One who is highly knowledgeable does not take part in materialistic activities?
Yes.
Because he knows they're all temporary.
So
Temporary
what about
and full of inebrities. Material energy is temporary and gives trouble. Even any happiness that one gains in the material world is connected to an equal amount of suffering.
So what about us, Lord Guru Maharaj? We live
There's
in
no such thing as pure happiness in the material world.
Yeah. So what about us? We live in material world. We have to perform some sort of a materialistic activities to survive. What shall we do? We struggle always.
Well,
Haribol Guru Maharaj, did you hear my question again?
no, I missed the last part. I didn't hear your response to my statement.
Yeah. So what about us, Lord? We are living in this material world, and we have to get involved in materialistic activities to survive. So we struggle a lot. What shall we do? When we take Krishna's altar and try and behave that way, people do take a lot of advantage of us.
Because you're a devotee and you're trying to become. So the behavior of a devotee in the material world is in sort of an indication of the characteristics of practicing spiritual life. So those qualities that are listed there should be applied even in our day-to-day activities. Well, you can only do that up to a certain point. So yes, in the material world, you'll always find difficulties. There's no question about that. So one has to learn to be tolerant, patient, and keep their focus. Therefore, the best thing to do is just remember Krishna. That's the most, just remember Krishna in each and every situation. If you forget Krishna, then you're subjected to the effects of your material activities. Just don't forget Krishna. You're a devotee, so you have to take care of your family. But your family responsibilities is not separate from your practice of Krishna consciousness. To take care of your family in a Krishna conscious way.
Yes.
Deal with other people in a Krishna conscious manner. Remember Krishna. Remember that whatever activities you perform, they might be necessary to maintain the body and family members, but ultimately, without the mercy of Krishna, nothing, even in the material sense, nothing becomes successful. Just depend on Krishna. That's all. Yena kena prakarena mana Krishna nivesaya. Somehow or other, remember Krishna.
Okay, thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Namrata Mataji, did you have a question? You had raised hand.
Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Of glory to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, just a follow up from the Sukha Mataji's question. If the relationship, if the people we are living with, maybe non-devotees, maybe it is, but
you're gonna have a problem with that. Problems. There's no question about it. The two don't mix together. The Bhagavad Gita says, what's night for the conditioned soul is a time of awakening for the self-realized soul. And what is time of awakening for the self-realized soul is night for the conditioned souls. So two different motivations, two different focuses. You try to amalgamate that together, you can do that for a little while, but you always find discord and disharmony. It'll be like that because the value systems are different. Therefore, we should either make our friends and family members devotees, or we should somehow or other get out of it. I'm not saying giving up the relationship, but do your best. It just, you're trying to put two things that get together that doesn't work. It's just the way it is. Material and spiritual, you can't somehow amalgamate and expect it to be harmonious. It's just not going to work. The value system is different. The focus is different. One is about me and the other one's about Krishna.
So Guru Maharaj, we should safely make a distance, or should we tolerate?
Do both. But I think you should be proactive. Just preach to them. Tell them they're all in Maya. Tell them that Krishna is their best friend. Tell them that they'll never be happy unless they actually become Krishna conscious. Tell them they're not the material body, and just to satisfy the senses and the demands of the body is simply the program of animals. That's all it is. Unless you live for Krishna, you are simply living based on the body. And body consciousness is animal consciousness. That's a fact. It's not some kind of it's not some philosophy, it's a fact. You don't live for the soul, you're not living, you're living for something that is false. So you have to be an expert performer in that material tabernacle. Unless you're expert, you'll get smashed or you'll become unhappy. So a little proactive, you know. Preach to them. Let them know that they're all in Maya.
Yes, Guru
Don't be
Maharaj.
a passive performer where they're just you. It's like, you know, you. But it should be based on knowledge and based on your own, but based on the level of your spiritual practice. Without Krishna, there's no life. Krishna is and live without God. God is giving life even to the non-devotees because he loves them for who they are, not for what they are.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much. I think, or as a devotee, first or foremost duty is to preach first rather than give up on anything. So definitely,
Yeah.
but definitely, but
Tell them when
sometimes.
they eat. Tell them if they don't eat food offered to Krishna, they're getting sinful reactions to it, and they have to suffer. Tell them. Just look up 3:13 in the Bhagavad Gita. It says there, shashash, you know,
Yes, my
if
sister.
you eat food not offered to the Lord, you're eating sin. If they don't accept Shastra, then they according to their own mental speculation. The material world is life should go on because it's all based on their own personal interest. It's not personal. Only was one.
Hare Krishna.
There was one author, his name was Albert Camus. He was an existentialist. And his whole idea was life has no meaning. Whatever meaning you put on life, that is the meaning. So therefore, my meaning of life will be different than your meaning of life because it's all subjective. So his whole idea is you give life your own meaning, and then that's the meaning. So if my meaning is to hit you over the head with a bat, then that's my meaning. So it doesn't. So these people are they're all completely insane, and they go on as authors and persons who have some standing in society. So what happened to Albert Camus? He just one day he just drove his car off a cliff and committed suicide. because he wanted to prove to the world that life has no meaning. So to make his point, he committed suicide.
It's a waste of life.
Huh?
It's a waste of life.
Yeah, but that's how, that's what Maya means insanity. That's all. People are nuts. They're crazy. If there's a bunch of people in the crazy house, they all think each other is okay because they're all crazy. But if somebody sane comes in there, they think that person's crazy. Yeah. That's why sometimes we say it's folly to be wise and when everyone else is a fool. So we tell them you're not this body. You're a spiritual being. They can't get it.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you. Thank you for the answer. It helps.
Yeah, I think there are still some issues.
I think we're stuck in time again.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Okay. Thank you, Maharaj, for the answers. Are you able to hear Maharaj? I think it got disconnected.
Yeah, can't see Guru Maharaj.
Yeah. Are there any more questions by anyone or any reflections? So when Maharaj logs in, you can share and go ahead. Yes, Mataji, I agree. Shri Mataji, it's a very powerful class by Maharaj.
Problem is these materialistic people, you can't preach them, you can't tell them anything, If you try and tell them something, they say, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
true.
You're telling me animal. So rude.
Yes, it's very challenging sometimes. I understand completely. Yes, Maharaj
Okay.
has joined.
I'm having a lot of trouble with my internet. It keeps cutting out here.
Yes.
All right, Sri Devi, quick question. Go ahead.
So how can we preach to those people who don't want to hear the truth and make the whole world a crazy place for others, Guru Maharaj?
It says, don't throw your pearls before swines. You can't preach to people who don't want to hear. You preach to people who want to hear. That's all. There are many people out there who are sincerely looking for something better, something something more, something that can satisfy them. So these are the people we can preach to, not to the people who think they know everything. Prabhupada gives the example. You go up to the man, you say, "My dear sir, you are very intelligent, you are very learned, you have all good qualities. Now, please, I have one request for you." What is that? Forget everything you learned and just chant Hare Krishna. That's it. First, you praise them, make them feel good, make them get ready for what you're about to say, and then here, chant Hare Krishna. Why should I chant Hare Krishna? Because I want you to be happy. How do you know I'll be happy? Try it. You're sitting in front of a plate of food. You say, if you eat that, you'll satisfy your hunger. Well, how do I know? Eat it.
Wonderful, Guru Maharaj. Such a powerful class. Thank you so much. My gratitude is unbounded. Thank you very much.
You can do it. You've done it before. Ever since you came to Mayapur, you become a Babajini. You lost that fighting spirit.
Jay.
Get
I've
it
become a
back.
mouse here. I'm scared. I'm hiding in my hole over here, Guru Maharaj. I need some god sisters and god brothers to come here. I'm all alone. You have to send somebody to help me, Guru Maharaj.
All right. We'll send someone. Sukava has ready. She's just looking for a ticket now.
Yes. Yes.
But don't, Mayapur is not for retirement. Mayapur is for added preaching. That's all. Don't think there's nobody to preach to in Mayapur. Don't get that idea.
I think lot of stuff to do in Mayapur, especially Devi Mataji and my discussion, basically.
Yeah.
Sukhava, you come on over.
I just got my American visa. I just got my Indian visa yesterday after fighting for about 4 months to get it. I finally got it.
Wow.
Yesterday I was celebrating, so I got my visa. So now the next thing to do is get there.
Is it that difficult, Guru Maharaj, to get visas?
It depends on how you go about it. If you go about it in the wrong way, it can be very difficult. But the only thing, what got it through was prayer. We made all the efforts to get it, nothing happened. And then finally, when prayer was the only thing left, it worked.
That's true. That is so true.
Okay, so I have to depart here.
Okay.
And we'll see you all tomorrow. Is it?
Tomorrow is
Yes,
this week.
Srimati, are you still there, Srimati, somewhere in the ozone?
Maharaj, tomorrow is with Bhakti Sangha, Charlotte devotees.
Yeah, so give the times for everybody.
So time would be 7:20 a.m. EST, 12:20 p.m. UK time, and the verse would be 6:148. Srimad Bhagavatam 6:148.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you so much, Maharaj.
6:20 Central Standard Time.
Yeah.
7:20 Eastern Standard Time. Add 5 hours for UK time. Add another 4.5 hours for IST.
Okay. So thank you so much, Maharaj, for today's class. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Sorry about my internet. I have no control of it.
It's not your fault, Guru Maharaj. You don't have to say sorry.
Who's to blame then?
Internet.
Nobody to blame.
Google Maharaj is the to be blamed for.
Internet or no internet, Guru Maharaj, your words are so powerful, so clear, so purifying that we don't care about the internet. We are
Exactly.
hanging on to every word.
We get it, Guru Maharaj, whatever you wanted to say.
I think Sridevi, I think you've been out in the sun too long.
I want to be in your sun too, very long, all the time, Guru Maharaj. This is the real sun. I'm happy to be in the sun, sunlight.
Sunshine of Guru Maharaj. Yes.
Okay, with devotees like you, I think we have a chance to change the world.
Hooray!
Jai.
Okay, so I should leave, and because there's other things on the agenda here. So we'll see you all tomorrow for 6/1/48 Srimad Bhagavatam.
Guru Maharaj ki jai!
Jai.
Ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you very much, Logan. Thank you very much.
Hare
Thank you all.
Krishna. Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all
Thank
devotees for
everyone.
joining. Hare Krishna.
Thank you all devotees, and thank you Vrinda Kumari for hosting this call with all the internet glitches. Such a powerful class, amazing.
Yes,
I was really
Hare
nice.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare
Thank you so
Krishna.
much.
Hare Krishna Prema, my obeisances to you, my obeisances to all the devotees. Hare Krishna. Please
Hare
come to Mayapur. Guru Maharaj is coming. Please, all of you also come.